So those were 5 licks that are built around box 1 of the pentatonic scale, throwing in a few extra notes here and there, whether that be blues notes, chromatic notes, major thirds. All of these licks are a bit different sounding than the typical pentatonic pattern 1 stuff you might be playing, but the good thing is that they will work in most of the same contexts. So it's a good way to add a bit of spice to your playing, but not having to worry about when you can actually use this stuff or how to use it. And as always, I'll put the tabs up on the screen as we go along, but there will also be a downloadable version on my Patreon page, as well as an extended cut of this lesson. Okay, let's look at the first one. So we're going to keep all of these licks in the key of A for now, so they're all going to be based around this A minor pentatonic shape, pattern 1. Which if you've gotten into improvising, you're more than familiar with this by now. So we start off by going between these two 5s, on the B string and the high E string. Now you can let them ring together if you want, or you can roll your finger like this to separate them, and then we do a full bend on the 8, and then we go straight in with our middle finger, we play the 7 and do a half bend. Okay, now that's like the key flavor of this lick, or the reason why I like the sound of it. So we go, so straight from that full bend on the 8 to that half bend on the 7. Now this note on the 7, this doesn't belong to the pentatonic scale. It's actually known as a 2 or a 9, and it will work in almost all cases where you are using the minor pentatonic scale, but we're actually bending it up so it sounds the same as this note here, this minor 3rd or the 8th fret, so it fits really well. And then we go 5, then back to that 7, and then finish off with that 5. So slowly. Now the key with all these licks is you want to make sure you're pitching your bends correctly. Okay, no one wants to hear this. Okay, so with this 8, we're bending it a full step, then a half step on the 7, then finishing it off. Cool, so mess around with that one. Now the second lick's a bit trickier. We're going to be sliding up to the 9th fret, so we're actually going into pattern 2 of the pentatonic scale briefly. We're sliding with our middle finger from the 7th fret to the 9th fret on the G. Then while keeping that note ringing, we're going to use our 3rd finger to play the 9 on the high E. So we have like that. This is called a major 6th interval. And then what we're going to do once we've done that is we're going to slide it down 3 frets. Now this is kind of tricky. So we go from 9 to 8 down to 7. Now the key with these slides to get them to resonate is you can't hesitate. You got to really commit to it, or the note's just going to die out and not ring properly. Like if I don't commit, right, I'm kind of going slowly and the notes are just dying because as soon as you don't fret a note correctly, it dies. So when you're practicing this, you just got to kind of go for it, and eventually you'll build up the muscle memory and you'll just be able to kind of switch to these really efficiently and get them to ring nicely. So that's the first part of the lick. And this kind of brings us back to pattern 1, now that we've gone from 9 to 8 to 7. And then we finish off by going 5, 7 on the B string, then 5 on the high E. Okay, so slowly we slide from 7 on the G to 9. Then we catch that 9 on the high E, slide down. It's hard to do it slowly and keep it resonating. There we go. And then I play the 5 on the high E, and then the 7 on the B string, and then back to that 5 on the high E to resolve it. So faster. And again. Cool, so that's lick 2. Now the next lick is going to really test your bending. It's like a gospel singer inspired lick, so very legato, lots of bending going on here. So have a listen first. Cool, that kind of thing. All using box 1 except for the very last note where we slide up to pattern 2. So the first thing we're going to do is play the 5th fret on the B string, and we hammer on to the 8th fret of the B string. Like that. Okay, so from 5 to 8 on the B string. Pretty straightforward. And then we do 2 bends on that 8th fret, but we actually only pick the first one. So we go pick, pick, right? I don't pick any of those bends. I just pick this first note. So 5, 8, then bend, bend. And you can add some vibrato at the top of the bend. So that's something you might just need to work on its own to get that to ring. So I go up, down, and back up. Okay, then we go 5 on the B again, then 7 on the G, and then we slide quickly with our first finger from 5 to 7. So 5 on the B, 7 on the G, then quickly slide from 5 to 7 on the G. So we have 5, 8, bend, bend, 5, 7, and then 5, slide to 7. Okay, then after we do that quick slide from 5 to 7, we do like a little bend on the 7, half bend, a blues bend, and slide it back to 5, all in one pick. So if I go from that quick slide from 5 to 7, it's cool. Again, when you're doing this slide, you can't second guess yourself. You can't go or else the note's just going to die. So you've got to just go for it. Cool. So putting that together so far. And then to finish it off, we play 7, pull off to 5, hammer on to 7 on the D string. Like that. And then to completely finish off this lick, we slide that up to 10, again without picking it, and bend it. Okay, so if I do that last little bit, so 7, 5, 7. And then you'll notice with that bend on the 10th fret, first of all, I bend it down, because I tend to find if I'm bending on the D string, that it's better to do it that way rather than up. And I delay it a bit. This is just like a personal preference thing, or what I hear in my head when I'm listening or playing these licks, rather than, right, both are fine, but I prefer doing that. Kind of reminds me of that gospel singer vibe. So putting that together, quite a cool sound. So this one again will take some practice, and you really got to have control of your bends to be able to pull it off, because you can't be sloppy, you know. It's hard to do it sloppy when you can do it right, but you get the idea. Okay, so work on that one a bit. Now on this next lick, there's going to be a bit of chromaticism by adding in the blues note, and as well as that, we're going to be adding in a major third to give it a major sounding resolution. So we're just going to pick through our pentatonic scale, starting on the 7 of the D string. So we go 7, 5, then 7 on the A string. Then we add our blues note, the 6 here. Then we play the 5, and then we hold this for a little bit, and then we quickly do a hammer onto the 6, pull off to the 5, and then slide to the 3. Okay, so far, 7, 5, 7, 6, 5, and then like that. So you might need to practice just going 5, 6, 5, 3. So we have, and then to finish it off, we go 5 on the E, then we kind of roll our third finger to the 5 on the A, and then back to that 5 on the E. So again, something you might need to practice. 5 on the E, 5 on the A, 5 on the E. So we have, and then we slide from 3 on the A to 4, which gives us that major third sound. And then we play 7 with our pinky on the D string, which will be our root note in our A minor key. So a good resolution note. Cool, and you can let these ring together if you want to get that kind of sound. I'll go through it slowly. So 7, 5, 7, 6, 5, hammer to 6, pull off to 5, slide to 3, 5 on the low E, roll that finger to the 5 on the A, back to the 5 on the low E, and then slide from 3 to 4, then catch that root note with my pinky on the 7th fret of the D string. So fast. Quite a cool bluesy, rock, major kind of sound. Now the last one is just an absolute rip-off of Stevie Ray Vaughan, but I love doing this, and a lot of blues guitar players love doing this. So again, we're going to start in our box 1. We're going to play the 7 of the D string, then we play the 5 of the G, then the 7 of the G, and then we're going to do, it's like a little chord, or like a double stop, I guess you would call it. We're going to put our first finger on the 5th fret of the high E, and our 3rd finger on the 8th fret, or the blues note, on the G, and we're going to play both of those at the same time. Right, now you might be wondering how to do that, and we're going to do something called hybrid picking. So I'm actually using my pick to play the G, and I'm using my middle finger to play the high E. And now I'm playing them both at once, like this. Okay, so I do that, and then I quickly slide that 8 back to 7 to get that kind of sound. It's like an organ thing, nearly. And you can do that twice, and then I finish it off by going 5 on the G, 7 on the D, and 5 on the G again. So if I put that all together, it's 7, 5, 7, double stop, twice, and then like that. Cool Stevie Ray Vaughan style thing. So I hope those 5 licks gave you something to think about, something to practice, and maybe incorporate into your own playing. But now I'm going to head over to the Patreon and extend this lesson a bit, go over some variations and how to move this to different keys and whatnot. But otherwise, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.